All right, this is live, and welcome to Firebug, day 5B. We just finished 5A earlier, where we did the calendar feature. It's looking pretty good now. This is the real calendar. So I need some CSS tweaks, but really those are just cosmetic as far as I'm concerned. So now we tackle the authentication question, which is when I click this, I can authenticate with my Google account. And then I can log in and have my ID. And that's all stored with my data. I can log in with another device and it should persist with me. So let's try and implement that. And first thing I recommend you do is, and the other thing is today we have, if you're starting from the future, you might want to go to our branch. We're going to be starting off from day 5A calendar. That's the branch that we're starting off from. So the first thing I recommend you do is kind of read through the docs on Firebase Authentication. That's really easy to get started with, but you're going to want to just understand the rough idea of what you're doing. So and that's assuming I do. So over in our app, where we want to do the auth is right up here. And I've kind of left a space for it in this timer piece, right? It just has a timer, but really, I know I'm going to take this out and do some auth stuff with it. So let's go ahead and have an auth component and put it out to the side. And let's take React. Let's take timer. Need to export default. And then I'm just going to go ahead and import auth from /auth. And then use that in here. And I'll kind of leave it at that for now. It will break the app because we need to do a couple other things to set up. So getting started. I don't know how to get started. Okay. Huh. So we're going to use the Google sign-in that you saw earlier. I have this already. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Well, we just want this bit from the Google instructions. And you're also going to want to have to go to your authentication on the console and enable Google. So I've already signed in a couple times, but on the sign-in method, this should, if you've never set this up before, you should get this enabled, and it's just literally a matter of click enable, you're done. As far as Google is concerned, the other ones have a little bit more involvement, but you can just follow instructions. The whole point is it's a solid interface, and you just you do pretty much the exact same thing every time. So I'm going to pass provider in to our app. And our auth component now has I don't foresee that we have a whole bunch of other things that we're going to want to have to do. I'm not sure. I think okay. So so we're gonna have to provide an auth, kind of like a. I don't know how to explain this. Okay, so we're going to have to provide kind of like a context for auth as well. So how do I do this? Okay. So essentially, I'll need to clone this, right? And just comment that out. And instead of current date, everything becomes user. user, user, whatever. User equals null, state user, we don't have this yet. Okay, well, we'll have login user. All right, let's bring that back. Okay, so no login user, login user, and we'll change that later on, and we'll have a logout user as well. Okay. And this both get exported. I think I'm fine with that. I mean, I don't have to do any export defaults. Those are just sort of nice functions to do, but not technically necessary. Okay, so I hope I'm not jumping ahead too much here. Okay, so let's see. We had an off. Okay, so when someone authenticates, right? You call the login user function. All right, let me just, okay, I'm not involving Firebase right now. I'm just providing this to you. Okay, so I'm going to export the auth provider from auth, and I'm going to stick it in here where everyone can access it, because if I ever need a user down below, I can access that. And then the auth component is also from here, and that's a thing that I make, right? Okay, so I hate that when that happens. Okay, so now I have an auth that has a timer in it. As well as the auth context, which I will use in a very similar fashion to the date context. So now everything's in the same file, so I don't have to jump back and forth. Now I can say things like user state. So I can say things like user question mark. If the user is logged in, log out. All right, let me render a logout const logout button equals to, give this a logout. And that click equals login user. I just, yeah. Yeah. Login user. Log out user. So if I have a user, I will give them the logout button. And if I don't have a user, I give them the login button. That makes sense, right? I hope so, because I'm about to show it. All right. Well, first of all, we haven't wired up the ability to log in. So let's go ahead and do that from Firebase. So we're going to copy this. And keeping in mind, we have the auth provider Firebase. And then do this from the docs. Set state in here. So we set the user equal to the user that they get back from their callback. There's a little gnarly trick there because of binding issues. And we really just want to get console, or whatever, this.props.firebase. And let's see if we can log in. And once we can log in, we'll log out. Put some console.error, error.message. I'm not going to expect to call this. Provider is not defined. Auth.js. Oh, what's the provider? This is the provider, of course. Yeah, okay. So I got to supply both the Firebase reference and the provider reference. Render is not a function. Whoa. That is just wrong. What is that? I think I think that was it. Okay, I have a thing to log in, and then when I click log in, nothing happens. Does anything? Huh. Okay, log in, nothing happens. So that's a problem with my provider. Login. Oh, you see that? That's so subtle. I was trying to log myself out, which of course, even that I was not logged in. Okay, so when I click login, what happens? I crash. First provider must be a valid auth provider. Okay, something's wrong with this guy. And the auth provider. Oh, I already did this. Come on. All right, clicking login. Whoa! And I click on whatever, and then you should change to the logout button. That's fantastic. Let's make it a little bit more obvious and actually display my name when I'm logged in. So if because I have the user, I can say things like, hi, user.display name. And that should give you an idea of what this is all about. Okay, and then I can do the logout, which is essentially this thing. Oh, let's look at the docs. Logout. Just sign out. What do you know? Yeah, they really kind of, it's super easy to sign out. And I'll do this for errors. And that's about it. Okay, so that's Firebase Authentication. And I'll see you next time when we deal with more features. Bye.